Have you ever just looked at the world and felt like behind all the chaos, there's some kind of hidden order? A secret language that connects a branching tree to the galaxy it's sitting in? Well, we're about to decode that language. Let's dive into the absolutely mesmerizing world of fractals.
So what if our modern way of seeing reality is, well, incomplete? The spiritual teacher Drunvalo Melchizedek basically says we've forgotten this fundamental truth about who we are, a truth that's literally encoded in the patterns of creation itself. And you know what? We're about to rediscover it.
Okay, first up, chaos is unread order. Let's start by challenging something we all kind of take for granted. We see randomness, unpredictability, chaos all around us. But what if chaos isn't chaos at all? What if it's just an order we haven't learned to read yet? Think back to school, right? We all learned about Euclidean geometry, the world of perfect lines, squares, and cubes. But just look outside. Nature doesn't build with straight lines. Nope. It builds with jagged coastlines and rough textures and these incredible branching patterns. It's a totally different kind of geometry. It's like a whole other language. So that brings up a huge question. If nature isn't speaking in squares and circles, what is its native tongue? What's the code that writes the blueprint for a fern, a river delta, and even your own lungs? The answer? It's a fractal. A fractal is basically a shape that's self-similar. That means if you zoom in on any part of it, you'll find a smaller, almost perfect copy of the whole thing. It's infinite complexity, all born from one simple rule, just repeated over and over and over again. This is the language nature speaks.
Now, let's look at how this beautiful idea becomes real, hard science. Because this isn't just philosophy, it's math. And it's got a fascinating history that shows us how we even began to map something that's infinite.
So, while mathematicians like Gaston Julia and Pierre Fatou were exploring the core ideas way back in the early 20th century, it was this guy, Benoit Mandelbrot, who in 1975 finally gave this roughness a name, fractal. And get this, he used the power of early IBM computers to make the invisible visible. He totally unlocked a new way of understanding our world.
And this really shows you a core theme here, that from the simplest of rules, the most mind-blowing intricacy can just emerge. At the very center of this new science is one of the most famous and complex objects in all of mathematics.
Meet the Mandelbrot Set. It's generated by a recipe that is just shockingly simple. Imagine you take a number, you run it through a simple little process, and then you take the result and run it through the same process again and again. Depending on whether your final number stays put or just flies off to infinity, that starting number is either in the Mandelbrot set or it's not. That's it.
But the result of that simple, repeated process is anything but simple. When you actually map it out, you get this object of infinite complexity. As you zoom into its boundary, you find these hypnotic valleys of seahorses, spiral galaxies, and at every single level, you find these tiny, shimmering copies of the entire set, just repeating. Forever.
Now here's where things get truly incredible. These discoveries in modern math, they echo ancient wisdom. See, this principle of self-similarity isn't just some mathematical curiosity. It turns out to be a foundational spiritual law that people have known about for thousands of years. Ancient Hermetic teachings were built on this one axiom: as above, so below. It basically means that the patterns of the largest scale, the macrocosm, are perfectly reflected in the patterns of the smallest scale, the microcosm.
And you see this everywhere. The fractal branching of galaxies mirrors the neural network in your own brain. The pattern of a river delta is literally echoed in your circulatory system. The structure of an entire forest is contained in the shape of a single fern. You see? You aren't just in the universe, you are a universe, in miniature.
And here is the esoteric version of the Mandelbrot set. This is the flower of life, an ancient symbol found in cultures all over the world. Mystics like Drunvalo Melchizedek believe this geometric pattern is the primary creation pattern, the literal blueprint from which all physical reality is born. So you have these two completely different perspectives, modern science and ancient mysticism, and they're both arriving at the same breathtaking conclusion. They're using different languages, sure, but they're describing the same fundamental reality, that the universe is a recursive, self-similar fractal. Okay, so this is where it gets really personal. This isn't just about cosmic patterns anymore. This is about you. We're about to apply this huge principle directly to your consciousness and the way you literally create your life. So just think about this for a second. If the entire cosmos operates on this principle of self-similarity, what does that mean for you? a part of that cosmos. It means you're not just a piece of the puzzle, you contain the entire puzzle right inside you.
And here's the key. This is the big takeaway. Your entire life is a fractal pattern. And that formula that gets repeated over and over again to create that pattern, it's your thoughts, your beliefs, your habits, your emotional states. That's the formula.
Think about it like this. Let's say your initial condition for the day is a feeling of anxiety. That one simple feeling gets copied into your conversations, your decisions, your perceptions. That day becomes an iteration of anxiety. Now repeat that for weeks, months, years, and what have you done? You've built an entire life fractal based on that initial state. A bad day isn't random. It's the predictable result of the formula you started with.
But here's the really empowering part. If you understand the formula, you can change it. You don't have to be a victim of your own patterns. You can become the architect of a new one.
It's just like the Mandelbrot set. The tiniest little change in the starting number can radically alter the entire final shape. So to change the massive, complex pattern of your life, you don't start with the big things. You start with the formula. You change the formula, and the outcome has to change.
So here's how you do it. A little process of micro-alchemy. First, you identify a pattern you want to change. Then, you isolate its smallest expression, the very first thought, the tiniest action, like hitting the snooze button. Next, you transform that one thing with your total focus and intention. And finally, you just observe. Watch how this new starting point ripples through the entire fractal of your day, shifting everything that comes after it.
By changing our inner formula, we change our outer reality. And what's really fascinating is that there seems to be a specific frequency, a divine proportion, that makes this fractal pattern of life truly beautiful and harmonious. We're going to explore that in our next explainer on the golden ratio.
So, I'll leave you with this thought. If your consciousness is the formula and the world is the fractal it creates, then reality is really nothing more than a mirror of your inner state. Knowing that, what pattern will you choose to project into that mirror tomorrow?